Dr. Westbrook, please! Every surgeon says my mother may die on their table. Please help my mother!
At 13, Leah Mercer had already learned that powerful people rarely stopped for frightened children. So she made certain the most powerful surgeon in the building heard her.
You've never lost anyone with her condition. Please, I need your hands.
Where is she?
Mercer Memorial Hospital.
The name on the first page dragged Gabriel Westbrook back 14 years. To the woman he had searched for. The woman he had never stopped loving.
How long have you known she needed a specialist? We were considering the safest option.
He was considering, but I was watching her die.
Prepare her for transfer, now!
What none of them understood was that Leah had not only found the one surgeon capable of saving her mother, she had found the father who never knew she existed. Welcome to Tales Through Time, where love is tested, secrets are exposed, and even broken hearts can find their way home. Danielle Mercer stood before the bedroom mirror fastening a small silver earring while her husband spoke on the telephone behind her. Andrew had been saying, "Just one more minute," for almost 20 minutes. He paced beside the bedroom windows in his charcoal dinner suit, discussing board votes, hospital acquisitions, and the final arrangements for the evening's succession meeting. Danielle did not interrupt him. She had become skilled at not interrupting Andrew. She adjusted the neckline of her midnight blue dress and studied her reflection. At 40, Danielle still possessed the kind of quiet beauty that made strangers look twice. Her deep brown skin seemed almost luminous against the dark fabric. Her hair had been drawn into an elegant low knot, and only the faint tiredness around her eyes betrayed how little she had slept. A dull pressure tightened beneath her ribs. Danielle placed one hand over her chest. She waited for the familiar irregular beat to settle. It did not. From the doorway, 13-year-old Leah watched her. "Is it hurting again?" Danielle lowered her hand immediately. "It's nothing." "That isn't what I asked." Danielle turned. Leah stood in a simple cream dress, her thick curls falling around her shoulders. She had inherited Danielle's expressive eyes and her habit of noticing the things adults tried to hide. Danielle smiled. "I'm only nervous." Leah glanced at Andrew, who was still speaking into his phone. "Because of grandmother?" Andrew ended the call just in time to hear the question. "Your grandmother has promised to behave tonight." Leah folded her arms. Grandmother's promises always come with a smile that means the opposite. Danielle suppressed a laugh. Andrew did not. "Leah." "What? It's true." He placed his phone in his pocket and approached them. For a brief moment, he looked like the man Danielle had married 13 years earlier, the man who had held a 3-month-old Leah against his chest and promised that no member of his family would ever make them feel unwanted. The man who had signed the birth records necessary to give Leah his surname, the man who had whispered to Danielle on their wedding night, "She will never be called another man's child in my home. She is mine because I choose her." Danielle had believed him. For many years, Andrew had lived up to those words. But promises did not always break in one moment. Sometimes they weakened slowly, surrendered piece by piece, until only the memory of them remained. Andrew touched Danielle's arm. "Tonight matters. Once the board confirms me as chairman, things will change." Danielle met his eyes. "You said that when they made you chief executive. I had less authority then. You said it when your father died. I was trying to keep the company stable. You said it last Christmas, after your mother removed Leah from the family photograph." Andrew's jaw tightened. "I dealt with that. You asked us to stand for a second photograph after she left. I was trying to avoid a scene." Danielle looked away. Avoiding a scene had become Andrew's explanation for every humiliation he permitted. When Beatrice Mercer introduced Danielle as her son's unexpected wife, Andrew avoided a scene. When she seated Danielle beside the household staff at a charity dinner, Andrew avoided a scene. When Leah's name disappeared from the educational trust established for every Mercer grandchild, Andrew promised to correct it privately. The correction never came. Andrew lowered his voice. "Tonight the trustees will be there. My mother needs their votes. She will not cause trouble." Leah picked up her coat. "She doesn't need to cause trouble. She brings it with her." Danielle reached for her daughter's hand. "Whatever happens tonight, you remain respectful." Leah looked at Andrew. "Even if they aren't respectful to us, Andrew answered before Danielle could. You are a Mercer. You do not allow people to drag you beneath who you are. Leah held his gaze. Am I? The question landed harder than she intended. Andrew stared at her. Danielle felt the pressure beneath her ribs tighten again. Leah had never doubted that Andrew was her father. Not until the past year, when Beatrice's comments had become sharper and more deliberate. You don't have the Mercer eyes. You inherited none of our discipline. Your mother should be grateful Andrew gave you his name. Each sentence had been carefully constructed to wound without revealing the secret. Until that night, Leah had not understood why. Andrew reached for Leah. You are my daughter. Danielle watched the distance between them and wondered whether Andrew understood how quickly a child could stop believing words that were not defended by actions. Let's go, she said. The sooner the evening began, the sooner it could end. She did not know that before midnight, the secret she had protected for 13 years would be exposed in a room full of people, and the man who promised to protect it would remain silent. Mercer House stood on 20 acres overlooking the river, a pale stone monument to generations of wealth. Danielle had attended countless dinners there and had never once entered without feeling that the building itself was assessing her. Andrew's uncles, 2 board trustees, and the family's legal advisor were already seated when Danielle entered. Conversation softened, not stopped. Softened. It was the reaction she had learned to expect in rooms where people believed wealth made prejudice respectable. Beatrice Mercer rose from the head of the table. At 68, she was an elegant woman with silver blonde hair and the posture of someone who had never been required to question her importance. Her gaze moved over Danielle's dress before settling on Leah. You brought her, Andrew stiffened. She is my daughter. This is a family meeting. Beatrice gave a thin smile. Yes, that is precisely what we intend to discuss. Danielle stopped walking. At the far end of the room stood a woman she had seen twice before at hospital foundation events. Vivienne Carlyle. Tall, polished, and dressed in ivory, Vivienne belonged to one of the wealthiest medical families in the country. She was 36, unmarried, and had recently been appointed to advise the Mercer Foundation. Beatrice gestured toward her. Vivienne will be joining us. For a family succession meeting? Danielle asked. Vivienne smiled with practiced sympathy. Beatrice thought my experience with foundation governance might be useful. Leah leaned toward Danielle. She means grandmother invited her to stare at Dad. Danielle squeezed Leah's hand, warning her to remain quiet. They took their seats. Dinner began with hospital projections, board votes, and ceremonial speeches about legacy. Danielle listened as Beatrice described Andrew as the man who would protect the Mercer name for another generation. Not once did she mention his wife. When dessert was removed, Beatrice placed both hands on the table. There is one matter we must resolve before Andrew's appointment becomes official. Andrew looked at her. Mother, Beatrice ignored him. The Mercer hospitals were not built merely to generate profit. They were built to preserve a family legacy. One of the trustees shifted uncomfortably. Danielle felt Andrew's hand tighten around his glass. Beatrice continued. Unfortunately, my son has spent 13 years allowing sentiment to interfere with duty. Danielle looked at Andrew. What is she talking about? He would not meet her eyes. The pressure in Danielle's chest returned. Beatrice looked directly at Leah. My son has wasted 13 years raising a child who is not his. Silence swallowed the room. Leah stared at her grandmother. Danielle heard the soft, mechanical ticking of the clock above the fireplace. Then she turned slowly toward her husband. You told her? Andrew's face revealed the answer before he spoke. Danielle, you promised me. I was under pressure. She kept demanding to know why. You promised me. Leah looked between them. What does she mean? Andrew's lips parted. Nothing came. Beatrice answered for him. It means your mother arrived in this family carrying another man's child. Beatrice's gaze moved from Danielle to Leah. A surname could hide where you came from on paper. It could never make either of you one of us. No, Danielle answered. Your cruelty made certain we never wanted to become you. Enough, Andrew said. But even then, his voice lacked the force it carried in boardrooms. Beatrice did not stop. She allowed my son to give that child his name. She allowed us to believe she belonged to this family, Danielle pushed back her chair. No. You chose to believe what allowed you to tolerate us. One of Andrew's uncles cleared his throat. This discussion should be private. It was private, Danielle said. Between my husband and me. She looked at Andrew again. You gave her my secret. Andrew rose. She threatened to remove me from the chairmanship unless I explained why we had no biological children. Danielle's face went still. And what did you explain? He said nothing. Beatrice answered with satisfaction. That Danielle arrived with another man's baby and then failed to give you one of your own. The cruelty was so complete that for one suspended second, Danielle could barely breathe. Andrew knew the truth. He knew why they had never conceived. 3 years into their marriage, after months of examinations Danielle had endured in silence, the doctors discovered Andrew was infertile. He had cried in her arms that night, not because he wanted another child more than he wanted Leah, he claimed, but because he knew what his mother would do if she learned. Danielle had promised to protect him. For 10 years she had allowed Beatrice to imply that she was barren. She had endured the doctors Beatrice recommended, the unsolicited fertility advice, and the quiet suggestion that Andrew should have married someone younger. Danielle had carried the shame that belonged to neither of them because Andrew begged her to preserve his pride. Now he had exposed Leah while continuing to hide himself. Beatrice turned toward Vivian. My son deserves the opportunity to build a proper family with a woman capable of giving him an heir. Vivian lowered her eyes modestly. The performance was almost insulting in its elegance. Danielle looked at Andrew. There was still time. One sentence could have ended everything. Tell them. Tell them I am not the reason. Tell them Leah is your daughter because you chose her. Tell them Vivian has no place here. Andrew placed one hand on the table. Mother, this is not how we agreed to discuss this. Danielle felt something inside her break. Not because he had failed to defend her, because his words revealed that a discussion had been planned. Leah pushed back her chair. Is it true? Andrew turned toward her. Leah, you aren't my father, he stepped closer. I have raised you since you were a baby. That isn't what I asked. Nothing changes what I feel for you. Then why did you tell her? Andrew looked at Danielle as though she might help him. She did not. Leah's voice became smaller. Who is my father? Danielle tried to answer. A sharp pain tore through her chest. Her hand flew to the edge of the table. The room tilted. Mom? Danielle heard Leah's chair strike the floor. Andrew moved toward her. She tried to breathe, but her heart seemed trapped beneath a crushing weight. The faces around the table blurred. Her final clear image was Leah reaching for her while Beatrice stood motionless at the head of the table. Then Danielle collapsed. She regained consciousness briefly in the emergency department of Mercer Memorial Hospital. Bright lights moved above her. Voices came and disappeared. Leah was crying somewhere nearby. Andrew held Danielle's hand. I'm here. Danielle tried to pull away, but she lacked the strength. A doctor leaned over her. Mrs. Mercer, the repair you had as a child is failing. There is significant damage around the aortic root. We need to stabilize you. Danielle understood only fragments. Failing repair, internal pressure, high-risk reconstruction. Then she heard a name. Westbrook. Another doctor answered quickly. We have not made a referral. Danielle's eyes opened. For one terrible moment, the monitors seemed louder than every voice around her. Gabriel. Andrew looked sharply toward the doctors. Who is Gabriel? Danielle's heart rhythm changed. The alarm sounded. A nurse called for medication. The room dissolved again. By morning, Danielle was sedated in intensive care. Leah sat beside the glass wall with her knees drawn against her chest. Andrew had spent most of the night speaking with specialists. Beatrice arrived at 9, wearing the same composed expression she had worn at dinner. Vivienne came with her. Leah stood immediately. You are not going inside. Beatrice removed her gloves. This is my son's hospital. That is my mother. And Andrew is her husband. Leah looked toward the far end of the corridor, where Andrew was speaking with the chief of cardiothoracic surgery. He wasn't much of one last night. Beatrice's mouth tightened. You are upset. That does not excuse disrespect. Leah walked closer. My mother collapsed because you humiliated her. Your mother has been ill for years. You knew. Of course I knew. And you still did that to her. Beatrice glanced at the intensive care room. Your mother's health does not give her the right to build her position in this family on deception. She didn't deceive me. You did. I told you the truth. You used the truth like a weapon. For the first time, Beatrice appeared unsettled. Andrew approached before she could answer. The doctors have stabilized her, but the operation she needs is extremely complicated. Leah searched his face. When? They are reviewing the scans. When are they operating? Our surgeons are consulting. One of the doctors joined them. Dr. Peter Keene had led the Mercer cardiac unit for 12 years. He looked exhausted. Mr. Mercer, I need to be candid. The scar tissue from Mrs. Mercer's earlier repair is extensive. The damaged section lies dangerously close to the coronary arteries. Andrew's voice hardened. This is one of the finest cardiac hospitals in the country. Yes. Then save her. Keene held his gaze. We are not the best hospital for this particular operation. Leah stood. Who is? The doctor hesitated. There is one surgeon who has developed a specialized technique for high-risk redo aortic root reconstruction. Andrew already seemed to know the answer. Gabriel Westbrook. Beatrice's expression changed. No. Leah looked at her. You know him? Beatrice recovered quickly. Westbrook runs a rival institute. His people have spent years undermining Mercer Memorial. Dr. Keene ignored her. He has never lost a patient with Mrs. Mercer's precise surgical profile. Then call him, Leah said. Andrew looked toward the intensive care room. We need to review the legal and financial implications of transferring her. Leah stared at him. She could die. And moving her in her current condition carries risks. So does leaving her here. Beatrice stepped closer to Andrew. If you send the future chairman's wife to Westbrook, every medical publication in the country will ask why our own surgeons could not save her. Leah looked from Beatrice to Andrew. Vivian spoke softly. Perhaps everyone should calm down. Andrew needs to make a responsible decision, not an emotional one. Leah turned on her. My mother is dying, and you're worried about who's calm. Get away from me. Andrew placed a hand on Leah's shoulder. That is enough. She pulled away. No, it was enough last night. You just didn't say it. For the next 36 hours, Andrew continued considering. Danielle's condition continued deteriorating. Leah remained at the hospital, sleeping in a chair outside intensive care. Nurse Rebecca Hayes brought her sandwiches she barely touched and explained the monitors whenever an alarm sounded. Rebecca had worked in the cardiac unit long enough to recognize when medicine was being delayed by politics. Late the second night, she found Leah studying her mother's scans on a hospital computer. You cannot understand those by staring harder, Leah wiped her face. I'm trying to find the doctor. Which doctor? Gabriel Westbrook. Rebecca looked down the corridor before pulling over a chair. She showed Leah the Westbrook Cardiac Institute website. The surgeon's face appeared above an article about patients other hospitals had refused. Leah read everything: his training, his institute, the specialized reconstruction technique, his surgical outcomes. A recorded interview played quietly through the computer speakers. No patient should be abandoned simply because their case threatens the hospital's statistics, Gabriel said. Leah looked toward the intensive care doors. She sent a message through the institute's emergency referral system, then another. The following morning, she called his office. An assistant explained that Dr. Westbrook was attending an international surgical conference, and that only formal physician referrals could be reviewed. Leah went to Andrew. Send the referral, Leah said. Andrew looked exhausted. The board is reviewing the transfer. Mom doesn't have time for the board. Moving her could kill her. Dr. Keene said leaving her here could kill her too. Beatrice entered the lounge carrying a slim folder. The trustees have agreed that no transfer will occur until our own specialists complete another review. Leah stared at her. You don't care whether she lives. You care where she dies. That is enough, Andrew said. Leah turned toward him. You promised me blood didn't matter. It doesn't. Then stop letting her decide whether Mom gets saved. Andrew looked at the folder in his mother's hand. He did not take it from her. Leah's eyes filled, but she refused to cry in front of them. Does Gabriel Westbrook know my mother? Andrew's expression changed. Leah noticed. He does. Leah, wait. But she was already leaving. 10 minutes later, Rebecca found Leah near the nurse's station with Danielle's copied medical file beneath her coat. Rebecca looked at the folder, then at the child. The conference is 40 minutes away. Leah's eyes filled. I have to try. Rebecca removed her car keys from her pocket. I did not see you take those records. Leah understood. Rebecca continued. And I am due for my lunch break. The moment Leah reached Gabriel Westbrook unfolded exactly as desperation demanded. She forced her way through the conference crowd. She made him stop. She placed Danielle's medical file into his hands, and one name destroyed 14 years of carefully controlled grief. Gabriel did not return to the conference hall. He instructed his assistant to cancel every meeting and ordered his driver to take them to Mercer Memorial. During the journey, he reviewed every page. Danielle's condition was worse than Leah understood. The failing repair had created an expanding aneurysm. The surrounding scar tissue made ordinary surgery almost impossible. If the damaged section ruptured, Danielle would die within minutes. Gabriel studied the emergency contact information. Spouse, Andrew Mercer. Daughter, Leah Mercer. Age, 13. He looked across the car at Leah. She sat rigidly, watching him as though his expression might reveal whether her mother would live. How long has she been unconscious? Almost 2 days. And they have not transferred her? My father says they are considering it. Gabriel returned to the scans. Your father owns the hospital. His family does. Why did you come alone? Because every adult in that hospital is more afraid of my grandmother than they are of my mother dying. Gabriel studied her face, the curve of her eyes, the determined set of her jaw. Something uncomfortable shifted inside him. What is your mother's maiden name? Lawson. His grip tightened around the file. Did she ever speak about me? Leah frowned. No. Gabriel looked out the window. 14 years earlier, Danielle Lawson had vanished from his life without a goodbye. He had searched every place she once loved. He had called her friends. He had driven through the night to her mother's small house and found it empty. Almost a year later, his father placed photographs on his desk. Danielle leaving a courthouse beside Andrew Mercer. Danielle wearing a wedding ring. Danielle holding a baby while Andrew stood beside her. Charles Westbrook had told him she had chosen security over uncertainty. Gabriel had refused to believe it until a letter arrived in Danielle's handwriting. Do not search for me. I have found the life I want. He had allowed her to go because he believed love did not give him the right to destroy the life she had chosen. He never understood why he could not stop loving her. Now her daughter had appeared with a medical file and eyes that made the past feel suddenly unfinished. Gabriel entered Mercer Memorial as though the hospital already belonged to him. By the time Andrew reached the intensive care corridor, Gabriel had reviewed Danielle's new scans, questioned the cardiac team, and ordered preparations for transfer. Andrew stepped into his path. You cannot enter my wife's case and begin issuing instructions. Gabriel looked at him for a long moment. So you are Andrew Mercer. You know who I am? I know your family prevented a critical patient from reaching the surgeon best equipped to save her. Andrew lowered his voice. This is complicated. No, the operation is complicated. Your behavior is simple. Beatrice approached with 2 administrators. This is Mercer Memorial, Dr. Westbrook. You have no authority here. Gabriel turned toward her. I have the authority of the patient's condition. Your surgeons have documented that they cannot safely perform the reconstruction. She is not stable enough for transfer. That was true yesterday. Your delay has made it more dangerous, not less necessary. Andrew glanced toward Leah. Why did you involve her? Gabriel's expression hardened. She involved me because the adults responsible for Danielle were busy protecting themselves. Then came the question. How long have you known she needed a specialist? Andrew said they had been considering the safest option. Leah answered before he could explain further. He was considering. I was watching her die. Gabriel held Andrew's gaze for one final second. Then he turned toward the medical team. Prepare her for transfer. Now. Beatrice tried to object. Gabriel stepped closer. If you delay her again, I will place every scan, every recommendation, and every hour your board wasted before the National Medical Review Council. Beatrice fell silent. Andrew signed the transfer. Not because he suddenly found courage, because Gabriel left him no safe place to hide. Danielle arrived at the Westbrook Cardiac Institute shortly before midnight. Gabriel was waiting in surgical scrubs. He stood beside her bed as the team prepared her. Her face looked smaller than he remembered. There were silver strands near her temples now. A faint scar marked the place beneath her collarbone where childhood surgery had once saved her. He touched her hand with 2 gloved fingers. Danielle. She did not move. You disappeared before I could protect you. His voice nearly failed. I will not lose you now that you have come back. The operation lasted 11 hours. Andrew waited in a private family room. Beatrice remained at Mercer Memorial, already speaking with attorneys. Vivian left after the 3rd hour, claiming she needed to prepare a statement for the foundation. Leah sat outside the operating theater with Rebecca. Gabriel reconstructed the damaged aortic root, separated scar tissue from the coronary arteries, and repaired the failing childhood work one fragile section at a time. Twice, Danielle's pressure collapsed. Once, the room became so quiet that every member of the surgical team stopped breathing. Gabriel did not. He had built his career on remaining calm when death entered the room. But this time, the woman beneath his hands was not a patient whose file he had reviewed. She was the first person who had known him before his family name became important. The woman who once sat beside him on the roof of the teaching hospital and asked whether he intended to spend his entire life proving himself to his father. The woman he had intended to marry. The woman he had mourned while she was still alive. When the final repair held, Gabriel stepped back from the table. His assistant looked at the monitor. She's stable. Gabriel lowered his head. For several seconds, he could not speak. Then he said, "Close carefully. The operation succeeded." Danielle did not wake. Her heart was functioning, but the prolonged surgery and earlier lack of oxygen had left her body deeply unresponsive. Gabriel explained that they needed to wait. Leah listened without blinking. How long? I don't know. Will she wake up? I believe she will. That isn't the same as knowing. No. Leah looked through the intensive care glass. Everyone keeps promising me things they don't know. Gabriel sat beside her. Then I will not promise. She turned toward him. What will you do? I will stay. Gabriel kept that word. During the days Danielle remained unconscious, he reviewed her scans personally every morning. He visited before his first operation and after his final consultation. He also began asking questions. Why had Mercer Memorial delayed the referral? Why had the chief surgeon's recommendation been overridden? Why had Andrew allowed the board to decide whether his wife received emergency treatment? Rebecca gave a formal statement. Dr. Keene provided copies of his original transfer recommendation. Gabriel's legal team discovered that Mercer administrators had altered the timing recorded in Danielle's case notes to make the delay appear shorter. That was enough. The Westbrook Institute terminated a major cardiac partnership scheduled with Mercer Medical Group. Gabriel issued a restrained public statement. Our institute cannot collaborate with any organization that allows family reputation, financial rivalry, or board politics to delay essential patient care. He did not mention Danielle by name. He did not need to. The medical community understood. Within 48 hours, the National Review Council opened an investigation. 3 respected surgeons withdrew from Mercer projects. The board suspended Andrew's confirmation as chairman. When Andrew confronted Gabriel outside Danielle's room, fury had replaced shame. You are using my wife to destroy my family. Gabriel stared at him. No. Your family used your wife to protect its reputation. I am making certain they never have the authority to do it again. You do not know what happened between us. I know she was humiliated in your home, collapsed in front of you, and nearly died, while you considered whether saving her would embarrass your hospital. Andrew stepped closer. I have loved Danielle for 13 years. Gabriel's voice became quiet. You loved her where your family could not see the cost. Andrew looked toward the intensive care room. She is still my wife. Gabriel's eyes moved to Leah, asleep in a chair beside the glass. And the child? Andrew stiffened. What about her? She is 13. Andrew's expression changed. Gabriel saw it. The silence answered more than words could have. How old was she when you married Danielle? Andrew did not respond. Gabriel stepped closer. Was Danielle pregnant when she left me? Andrew's face hardened. That is not my secret to reveal. Gabriel laughed once without humor. You revealed enough of it to your mother. Andrew looked away. Gabriel felt the years rearranging themselves inside his mind. The timing, the photograph of Danielle holding an infant, the child's eyes, the way Leah tilted her chin when she refused to be frightened. Does she know? Gabriel asked. She knows I am not her biological father. Does she know who is? No. Do you? Andrew finally looked at him. Yes. The world narrowed. Gabriel's voice barely carried. You knew. Danielle told me before we married. And you never told me I had a daughter. She believed you had chosen your family. She made me promise to protect Leah. Gabriel's control shattered. Then why was that child forced to beg a stranger to save her mother? Andrew had no answer. Gabriel pointed toward Danielle's room. You had 13 years with both of them. His voice broke despite his effort to contain it. I did not know they were alive inside the same world as me. Andrew lowered his head. Gabriel continued. You were given everything I did not know I had. And when they needed you to stand between them and your family, you stepped aside. Leah had not been asleep. She heard enough to understand that Gabriel suspected the truth. That evening, she found him alone in the observation room, studying her mother's latest scan. You loved her, Gabriel turned. Yes. Before Andrew. Yes. Did she leave you? I believed she did. Why? My father showed me that she had married someone else. Leah moved toward the glass. Did you stop looking for her? Eventually. Why? Because I thought searching for her after she chose another life would be selfish. Leah looked at him. What if she didn't choose it? Gabriel took a slow breath. Then I lost 14 years because I believed a lie. She studied his face. Could you be my father? Gabriel did not answer immediately. He approached her carefully. I believe it is possible. Leah's eyes filled, but her expression remained guarded. You're a surgeon. Yes. That is what I came looking for. I know. I wasn't looking for another father. Gabriel nodded. Then I will not ask you to accept one. What happens if she never wakes up? His face changed. She will. You said you wouldn't promise. You are right. He stood beside her. If she does not wake, I will still make certain you are safe. But I will not decide anything about your life without you. Leah looked toward Danielle. Andrew used to say things like that. Gabriel accepted the warning. Then judge me only by what I do. On the 6th morning after surgery, Danielle opened her eyes. Gabriel was sitting beside her bed reviewing notes. The movement was so slight he almost missed it. Her fingers shifted beneath the blanket. He stood. Danielle? Her eyes opened slowly. Confusion came first, then recognition. She looked at his face as though the years between them were something physical she could not understand. Gabriel? The sound of his name in her voice nearly brought him to his knees. I'm here. She tried to move. Leah. She is safe. She found me. Danielle closed her eyes, and tears slipped toward her temples. She found you? She came to the conference with your medical file. Danielle began crying. Gabriel took her hand. I operated. Your heart is stable. She looked at him again. How long? 14 years. No? How long have I been here? 6 days since the operation. Her eyes searched the room. Andrew? At the hospital. She tried to withdraw her hand. Gabriel released it immediately. Then he asked the question that had occupied every moment since his conversation with Andrew. How old is Leah? Danielle's face became still. He continued. I know Andrew is not her biological father. She looked toward the window. Gabriel's voice softened. Is she mine? Danielle's breath trembled. Yes. The word was barely audible. Gabriel closed his eyes. For years, he had imagined countless explanations for Danielle's disappearance. None included a daughter. Why didn't you tell me? Your father found out. Gabriel looked at her. He came to my mother's house. He said you had been offered the position in Zurich. He said if I interfered, the offer would disappear. That would not have mattered. He said he would destroy my mother's business. He said your family would prove I was unstable and take the baby after she was born. Gabriel's jaw tightened. He could not have done that. I was 26, pregnant and frightened. He had judges, doctors, and attorneys at his table. I had my mother and a rented room. She swallowed with difficulty. He showed me a letter saying you had chosen the institute. I never wrote it. I wrote to you. I never received anything. Danielle stared at him. Then I heard you had left for Zurich. I believed he had told the truth. Gabriel sat slowly. My father showed me photographs of you marrying Andrew. He helped us when I had nowhere left to go. And the letter telling me not to search? I never wrote it. Gabriel looked away. Charles Westbrook had been dead for 8 years. There would be no satisfying confrontation, no confession, and no apology. Only the knowledge that one powerful man had rearranged 4 lives because he believed he knew what was best for his son. Danielle's voice broke. I thought leaving was the only way to give you a future. Gabriel looked back at her. I thought you had chosen a future without me. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Danielle whispered, "Where is Leah?" Gabriel called the nurse. Before Leah entered, he stepped away from the bed. Danielle noticed. "You can stay." He looked at her. "She came searching for a surgeon, not a father. She deserves to hear the truth from you." Leah entered slowly. The instant she saw Danielle awake, every wall she had built disappeared. She ran to the bed. "Mom!" Danielle held her as tightly as her weakened body allowed. "I'm sorry," Leah cried against her shoulder. "I thought you were going to die." "I'm here." Gabriel stood near the window, giving them space. Leah finally lifted her face. Then she looked from Danielle to Gabriel. "I heard them talking." Danielle's expression changed. "How much?" "Enough." She turned toward Gabriel. "Is he my father?" Danielle did not hide again. "Yes." Leah stepped away from the bed. Her face hardened before the tears could return. "You knew all this time?" "I knew who your father was." "And you never told me?" "I believed he had chosen his family over us." "So you let me believe Andrew was my father." "Andrew was the man raising you. He loved you." Leah laughed bitterly. "He loved me until his family asked him to prove it." Danielle reached toward her. Leah moved away. "I went looking for a surgeon. I wasn't looking for another father," Gabriel answered gently. "Then a surgeon is all I will be until you decide otherwise." Leah looked at him. "You didn't know?" "No." "You never knew she was pregnant?" "No." "If you had known," Gabriel's voice broke, "I would have spent every day of your life making certain you never questioned whether you were wanted." Leah stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned back toward Danielle. "I need time." Danielle nodded, although the words wounded her. "You can have all the time you need." Leah left the room. Gabriel started after her. Danielle caught his hand. "Don't overwhelm her." "I won't." "She still loves Andrew." "I know. He was a good father once." Gabriel looked toward the closed door. "Then he will have to live with knowing that being good once was not enough." Andrew arrived that afternoon. Leah was waiting in the corridor. He stopped when he saw her. "Your mother is awake." "I know." Relief moved across his face. "Thank God. She told me." Andrew understood immediately. "About Gabriel?" "About everything." He approached cautiously. "Leah, whatever you learned does not change that I raised you." "You knew he was my father?" "Yes." "You knew he didn't know about me?" Andrew hesitated. "Yes." "You promised Mom you would protect us." "I tried." Leah looked at him as if she no longer recognized the word. "You let grandmother call me another man's child in front of everyone. I was shocked by what she did. She only knew because you told her." "I was under enormous pressure." "So you gave her my secret." Andrew lowered his voice. "You were never a secret to me." "Then why did you let them treat me like I belonged to nobody?" He reached toward her. She stepped back. "I love you." Leah's face crumpled. "That is what makes it worse." Andrew stopped. "You knew I wasn't yours," she continued. "You chose me anyway. That used to make me feel special. It still should." "No, because when they asked you to choose again, you didn't." Andrew had no defense. He said he was trying to hold the family together. Leah's answer ended the argument. "We were your family." She walked away. The following morning, Vivian came to Danielle's room alone. Gabriel had stepped out to review Danielle's latest scans, and Leah was downstairs with Nurse Rebecca. Vivienne remained close to the door instead of approaching the bed. "I didn't know about Leah," she said. Danielle studied her face. "But you knew why Beatrice kept placing you beside my husband." Vivienne's expression tightened. "I was told your marriage had already ended everywhere except on paper." "And you believed her?" "I believed what made my presence easier to justify." Danielle said nothing. Vivienne looked down at the Mercer Foundation pin fastened to her coat. "I did not know enough to understand everything they were doing to you, but I knew enough to ask questions, and I chose not to." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Beatrice calls whatever serves her the truth. I thought I was being invited into a powerful family. Now I understand I was being used to punish another woman." Vivienne turned toward the door. "I'm sorry I allowed it." She left before Danielle could answer. Beatrice came to Danielle's room 2 days later. She arrived without permission and found Gabriel seated beside the bed, while Danielle completed a breathing exercise. Andrew followed her, visibly uncomfortable. Beatrice looked at Gabriel. "This is a family conversation." Gabriel rose. "Danielle decides who remains." Danielle looked at him. "Stay." Beatrice's expression tightened. "So it is true. Leah belongs to him." Danielle did not answer. Beatrice turned toward Andrew. "You allowed that man into your wife's room after everything his institute has done to us?" Andrew looked exhausted. "Mother, stop. No. Your chairmanship is suspended. Our hospital is being investigated. Vivienne's family is reconsidering the foundation agreement. All because this woman created a spectacle." Danielle stared at her. "I created nothing. I collapsed after you exposed my daughter. I exposed your deception. You exposed a child to punish me." Beatrice lifted her chin. "My son gave 13 years to another man's daughter. You denied him an heir and protected the truth because it benefited you." Andrew closed his eyes. Danielle looked at him. Even then, he said nothing. She felt something settle inside her. Not rage, clarity. "Tell her," Danielle said. Andrew's face paled. "Danielle, you revealed my secret to protect yourself. Tell her yours." Beatrice looked between them. "What secret?" Andrew remained silent. Danielle answered, "Your son cannot father a child." The room became still. Beatrice turned slowly toward Andrew. "That is not true." Andrew looked down. Danielle continued. "We discovered it 10 years ago. I endured every accusation you made about my body because he begged me not to tell you." Beatrice's composure fractured. "You are lying." Gabriel spoke for the first time. "Medical records can confirm it." Beatrice stared at her son. "You allowed me to believe she was responsible." Andrew's voice was low. "I was ashamed." Danielle's eyes filled, but her tone remained steady. "And I protected that shame because I loved you." She looked directly at Andrew. "You repaid me by exposing the one secret I begged you to protect." Andrew moved toward her bed. "I made a terrible mistake." "No, a mistake happens once." Danielle's voice remained quiet. "You watched your mother humiliate us for years. You allowed her to remove Leah from the trust. You let Vivienne occupy my place in your life. Then when your family demanded an explanation, you offered them me. I never agreed to marry Vivienne. You allowed her to be presented as my replacement. I was trying to secure the chairmanship." "And what were you securing it for?" Andrew looked at her. "For us." Danielle shook her head. "You sacrificed us to inherit something you claimed you were building for us." Beatrice recovered enough to speak. "Vivienne will understand. Infertility can be treated." The door opened. Vivienne stood outside. She had apparently heard enough. Her face had lost its practiced warmth. "I believe this family requires privacy." Beatrice turned. "Vivienne." "I was told Andrew's marriage was effectively over and that he wanted children." Andrew stared at her. "I never told you that." "No, your mother did." Vivienne looked toward Danielle. "For what it is worth, I did not know about your daughter before that dinner." Danielle said nothing. Vivienne removed the Mercer Foundation pin from her coat and placed it on the table. I will not remain attached to a family facing a medical negligence investigation and a succession dispute. She left. Beatrice stared after her. Danielle looked at Andrew. The woman your mother chose disappeared the moment your name became less valuable. Andrew lowered his head. Danielle continued. I stayed when you believed you had nothing to give me. He looked at her desperately. Please don't end our marriage while you're still recovering. Our marriage ended before my heart stopped. Gabriel's investigation did not destroy Mercer Medical Group. It forced the family out of absolute control. The board removed Beatrice from its executive committee. Andrew's chairmanship was cancelled. Dr. Keene was cleared after producing evidence that he had repeatedly requested transfer. 2 administrators who altered Danielle's records were dismissed and referred to the Medical Review Council. Gabriel insisted that the hospital remain open and that patient care continue. When Andrew accused him of taking revenge, Gabriel did not deny it. I am taking away the authority your family used to decide whose life mattered. Andrew looked toward Danielle's recovery suite. And when she chooses you, will that be revenge too? Gabriel's expression cooled. Danielle is not something either of us gets to win. Danielle spent 6 weeks recovering at the Westbrook Institute. Leah visited every day. At first, her conversations with Gabriel remained strictly medical. What does that line mean? Why does her medication change at night? What happens if the repair fails? Gabriel answered every question. He did not buy her expensive gifts. He did not introduce her publicly as his daughter. He did not ask her to change her name. He allowed her to call him Dr. Westbrook until the day she grew tired of the formality and called him Gabriel. That single word meant more to him than any title he had ever earned. One afternoon, he showed Leah how to identify the reconstructed section of Danielle's heart on a scan. Leah studied the image. You really did this? My team and I did. You never thought of giving up? No? Even when she almost died? Especially then. Leah looked at him. Did you love her that much? Gabriel set down the tablet. I still do. Why didn't you marry anyone else? He considered giving her a safer answer. Then he remembered asking her to judge him only by his honesty. I learned how to live without your mother. I never learned how to stop loving her. Leah looked toward the window. Andrew loved her too. I believe he did. You don't hate him? Gabriel's mouth tightened. I hate what he allowed. That is not the same thing. No. He raised me. I know. Sometimes I miss him. You are allowed to. She looked surprised. You don't want me to choose you? I want you to choose whatever allows you to become whole. Leah's eyes filled. That sounds like something a father should say. Gabriel did not move. Leah wiped her cheek. I'm not ready to call you that. I know. But maybe one day. Gabriel looked away briefly before emotion overtook him. One day is more than I knew I had. Andrew began attending therapy alone. He gave up his appeal for the chairmanship and provided investigators with every internal message concerning Danielle's delayed transfer. He also issued a public statement accepting responsibility. He did not mention Beatrice's pressure. For the first time, he stopped using his mother as an explanation. Leah agreed to see him after 3 months. They met in a quiet park. Andrew brought no gifts. He apologized without asking for forgiveness. I loved being your father, he said. Leah looked at him. You still are part of my life. Part? You taught me to ride a bicycle. You came to every school play until last year. You sat beside me when I broke my arm. Andrew nodded. But I don't know how to trust you. I understand. I don't think you do. Then I will learn. Leah looked away. Gabriel says I don't have to choose. Andrew's face tightened briefly. Then he said, he is right. It was the first thing Andrew had done that made Leah believe he might eventually become better than the man who failed them. But it did not restore what he had broken. Some consequences were not punishments. They were simply the new shape of a relationship after trust had been removed. Danielle returned to her maiden name. The divorce was finalized quietly. Andrew offered her the Mercer house, shares in the hospital group, and a substantial settlement. She accepted only what ensured Leah's education and the financial security she had sacrificed during the marriage. When Andrew asked whether she had ever truly loved him, Danielle answered honestly, yes, More than Gabriel, she looked at him with sadness. I loved you differently. That is not an answer. It is the only answer that is fair. He waited. Danielle continued. Gabriel was the life taken from me. You were the life I chose afterward. Andrew's eyes filled. And I destroyed it. No, you abandoned it one decision at a time. He looked toward the garden where Leah waited. Do you think she will ever call him Dad? Perhaps. The answer hurt him. Danielle did not soften it. But if she does, it will not erase the years you raised her. It will only acknowledge the years he was denied. Andrew nodded. And you? Danielle knew what he was asking. Gabriel has not asked me for anything. He doesn't have to. No, he doesn't. Months passed before Danielle allowed herself to return to the place where she last saw Gabriel before disappearing. It was the rooftop garden of the old teaching hospital, now renovated, but still overlooking the same city lights. Gabriel stood beside the railing holding an envelope. I wrote this the night before I left for Zurich. Danielle took it. My father returned it to me after he became ill. He claimed it had never been sent. She opened the letter. The paper had yellowed slightly. The handwriting belonged to the young man she remembered. Danielle, I know my family has made you feel as though loving me requires you to fight an entire dynasty. I cannot promise they will change. I can promise that I will choose you even when choosing you costs me everything they planned for me. She stopped reading. Gabriel waited. She continued. If you need to leave, I will not chase you in a way that makes you afraid. But there will never be another life I want more than the one I imagined with you. Danielle lowered the letter. I never received this. I know. I would have stayed. I know that now too. She looked across the city. We lost 14 years. Yes. Leah lost 13. Yes. We cannot recover them. Gabriel moved closer, but he did not touch her. No. Danielle turned toward him. Then let us stop giving them another day. Gabriel's breath caught. Are you certain? No. He smiled faintly. That is not encouraging. I am certain I love you. I am not certain love automatically repairs what time destroyed. It doesn't. I am not the woman you lost. I am not asking you to become her. And Leah needs time. She can have every year I have left. Danielle stepped closer. What if she never calls you Dad? Then I will still be grateful she called my name. Danielle placed her hand in his. For the first time, neither a powerful father nor a wealthy family stood between them. Only time. And time, unlike fear, could be faced one day at a time. Leah stood in the observation gallery of the Westbrook Cardiac Institute, wearing a visitor's coat over her school clothes. Below the glass, Gabriel completed another high-risk reconstruction. Danielle stood beside her, healthy enough to climb the gallery stairs without assistance. Her scar remained. So did the memories, but her heartbeat was strong. Gabriel stepped away from the operating table. The monitors remained steady. Leah smiled. He did it again. Danielle followed her gaze. You sound surprised. I'm not. Gabriel looked up toward the gallery as though he knew exactly where they would be. Leah lifted one hand. He raised his gloved hand in return. A few minutes later, he joined them after changing from his surgical clothes. How is the patient? Danielle asked. Stable. Leah handed him a bottle of water. You forgot this before you went in. Gabriel took it. Thank you. Danielle watched them. The easy familiarity had developed slowly. Leah still called Andrew occasionally. She still used the surname Mercer at school. She had not replaced one father with another. She had simply made room for a truth that belonged to her. Gabriel looked at Danielle. Ready to go home? Leah answered before her. Yes, Dad. The word stopped him. Leah pretended not to notice. You're driving. Mom says she is tired. Gabriel looked at Danielle, his eyes bright with emotion. She smiled. Do not make her repeat it. She may change her mind. Leah rolled her eyes and walked toward the door. Gabriel remained still for 1 second longer. Then he followed his daughter. As they walked through the institute together, Leah slipped her hand into Danielle's. I found the best surgeon in the world because I needed him to save you. Danielle looked at her. Leah glanced toward Gabriel walking beside them. I didn't know I was also bringing my father home. Danielle tightened her hand around her daughter's. No, she said softly. Neither did I. And this time, when the three of them walked away together, no one was hiding who belonged to whom.